Hello, everybody. Kelsey here. I'm here with Lori Windmiller, a super mom and one of our clients who has generously agreed to come on and share some of her story with us. So, Lori, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's been great. It's great.
Awesome. So let's start with, right now, David, your son, he's just finished his first year of college on a pretty high note. But before that happened, I want to kind of rewind and maybe you can start telling us a bit about David's transition from high school to college and kind of how that was for you guys.
Well, the transition from high school seemed fairly easy, considering it was the same town, same people, same location, just other side of town. He didn't have the struggles my other two kids had with not being at home, the homesickness. He kind of knew everything. So that part was easy. He took with him the same mentality into college as he had in high school that, oh, I can just do the minimum and get by.
And how did that work out?
Not so well. However, it was late in the semester when we found out how deep the hole he had dug.
Okay.
He had dug himself deep holes in high school, but was able to climb out by the end of the semester because his teachers kind of gave him a way out.
Okay.
And college doesn't do that.
No. So what were these holes, so to speak? Like what kind of holes are we talking?
Holes that we're talking were not turning in assignments, not putting in a whole lot of effort, doing bare minimum, expecting, decent grades and not being held accountable for his lack of effort. And so his grades somewhat reflected that. And so by the time mid-semester came along and they were really starting to push and letting him know how low his grades were, they started helping him by accepting late assignments and finding ways to get extra points and that kind of thing. So he had probably C's going mid of the semester. They were on a block schedule, but by the midway through, he realized he wasn't doing quite as well as he was indicating to us he was doing. So then when we found out, we had to get on him more and push him to do the extra work.
Mm-hmm.
But he was able to bring it up.
And that was usually the case in high school, that's right?
Yes. Every year in high school, that was the case. And no matter how much we said, let's get started on a good note, let's, he did the same thing. He didn't know how to do anything different. And us just saying, hey, let's do something better wasn't exactly helpful either. Because we didn't know how to get him to do different.
Mm-hmm. And so that was the pattern throughout high school. And then did you guys think for college, were you thinking something would change? Were you worried that nothing would change?
Both. Okay. Maybe a little naive, huh? We were hoping things would change. We were told that his grades would be monitored by the coaches, that he would have study hall. He would pretty much be held to a higher standard because of soccer, which none of those cases actually held up. Mm-hmm. So by the mid-semester, when we found out accidentally that he was failing a class his first semester, we knew there were a lot of things that were falling through the cracks.
No kidding. Okay, so let's just set the scene quick for our people listening, because you mentioned the coaches. So David starts first year college with a full course load, correct?
Yes,
yeah.
Correct.
And then also, how many hours of soccer was he doing a week?
Good grief. Beginning in that semester, it was anywhere from 12 to 15 hours during the week.
A lot of soccer, like a part-time job's worth almost.
Exactly. Especially when it came to the weeks where they traveled, because there would be probably anywhere from 3 to 5 hour travel one way for a game and then come back.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, incredibly intensive
Yes.
anywhere. So it sounds like it was like 12-hour minimum and then,
Minimum.
going up.
Right.
Okay. So full class load, full intensive elite athlete mode. And then he had also, correct me if I'm wrong, he had started the year with a scholarship, right?
Right. He had basically two. He had the soccer scholarship,
Mhm.
and then he had the Georgia Hope Scholarship, which was a tuition scholarship
Gotcha.
towards tuition. Yeah.
So those two scholarships, I'm sure, were quite significant.
They
Um,
were. They kept our costs down to a very low minimum. So it was he almost had a full ride to the school. Yeah.
so, and now these scholarships, though, contingent as they always are on marks. So when you guys found out, I'm hearing David didn't necessarily share about his marks
No.
until about halfway through. So can you share a bit about what happened there and how you guys came to discover this hole again, so to speak?
Not sure how we found out. It was no, that was his book situation. He just kind of happened to bring it up. Oh, by the way, I'm not doing so hot in the class. And uh, in our experiences with colleges and our other two kids and our own, we knew there was a specific time you had to drop a class. He was in that time frame where it was almost to the point where you could not drop a class without getting a failing grade or a incomplete or something else. It was the week of he could still withdraw and not get punished for it, I guess. I don't know what the wording is, but anyway, he still had a few days, and I kept saying, David, please drop the class. Just drop it. You won't have any repercussions. And he would not drop it. He told me he would have time to bring up his grade. He said it was a D. He ended that semester with an F. So he went from not only did he not bring it up, he rechanneled all his focus on other classes and just gave up on it.
Now, was it on that one class, or was it kind of all over the marks were starting to suffer?
I think all of them were. Honestly, still to this point day, I have no idea what his grades are. And I had no idea until Gigi started knocking on his door and saying, okay, I need your grades. Because there's that law now here in the States that parents have no right to the grades unless you sign a specific waiver form. And David has yet to offer us that waiver form. And I have not yet demanded that waiver form.
Well, do you know what he finished with this term?
Okay, I know his cumulative for the year is a 2.3. So I can only imagine what he finished with. I have no idea. I'm going to find out today.
Oh, well, I won't spoil the surprise then.
I'll go ahead because it's going to get spoiled.
Are you sure?
I'm dying to know. Yes, I'm dying to know.
All right. His lowest grades for the last few months for this term for his exams, final marks, is a B.
Awesome. That's fabulous.
He brought everything up from F's and D's all the way up to A's and B's.
Yes. That is fabulous, especially where the math went to, because he dug himself a hole in math. He dug himself a hole in math this semester.
And he pulled himself out. He committed and he pulled himself out. But okay, before we get there. So, okay, so this happens. This comes out that he's in this hole. Scholarships are on the line or revoked. I'm not sure the exact timeline, but things are not good with David.
Things at that point were, if they continued, 1, he'd flunk out of school. 2, that means he would lose his soccer scholarship, and any education that he would return to, it would be all out of pocket because these scholarships would no longer be available. The Hope will end at some point, but the soccer scholarship would not, and that's significant.
Yes. Well, I was going to ask, it's a bit Captain Obvious, but how did that affect you guys?
Oh, how do I say this nicely? We were almost devastated to find out it was that bad and had no idea what to do at that point. We were just at a point where if things didn't get better, he was headed towards the same thing the second semester. We found out, we only found out once he started with the tutor what his GPA it was from the first semester, how bad that was. And so maybe I should have been more pushy and demanding to know more. However, this is what he's always wanted, to go to college to play soccer. So he had to do the work. I was not going to bail him out of that. Mm-hmm. So if he didn't do the work, he was losing all this on his own. But I didn't realize until later, did not know how to do differently. He could not make himself do something he didn't know how to do. So studying was the same. Asking for help was still non-existent. He wouldn't listen to us. He wouldn't study with me. So
what did you guys try when you realized, this is bad, this is serious, we're going to lose out, he might fail out? What was there anything in particular you guys tried?
Beyond giving him steps of things to do, get a tutor, go to somebody in your college. There's got to be a place to find tutors. He refused. He said he didn't want to go into a group and let everybody know how much he didn't understand. He didn't want to go to his professor so they would know how stupid he was. He wouldn't go to his coaches and say, "Hey, I'm struggling. Help me get some help." Mm-hmm. And so, beyond taking him somewhere and forcing him to sit down, we didn't try any of those things. Mm-hmm. We gave him generic, I guess, resources, places he could turn to. There was a personal friend at the college he would talk with, and she would give him sound advice and places to go, and he still wouldn't take those steps.
Okay. So lots of stigma with just, I shouldn't need this help. It's embarrassing, right. Especially for a lot more boys tend to feel that stigma a lot more harshly.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that makes sense. So then especially since he was refusing initially, or not refusing, but just didn't feel comfortable getting help. How did you find us, and how was he even open to that? What happened?
Good question. I was scrolling Facebook one day and I saw your ad, and it's kind of one of those things where I thought, okay, well, it sounds really good, but I mean, come on, this is on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Everything is true on the internet. It's kind of the way I was thinking. But I went to your website and I started reading. I come from a family of educators. My mom, my sister, my brother, my dad, aunts, and just so forth. I myself am not an educator. I do have worked in the school systems. So my personal experience was they get a little bit of organizational skills in third grade. And then they expect them to be able to, whatever system, Venn diagrams or whatever, use that throughout. It doesn't always work. And so through high school, when I would notice he was just staring at his notes instead of doing anything with them, I would quiz him and he wouldn't know the information that he just studied 2 hours on. So when I read that there was more to actual learning than just the content, that fits so well, because we kind of started to wonder if David had some kind of a processing issue. Talked with a friend of mine who was talking about his dyslexia, and flags went off. So the more I read on your site, the more it all rang true to me that there's more than just content. There's processing, there's skills, there's different things to utilize to help with the content. So the more I dug, the more it just seemed to be a good fit. So I talked to David about it. I said, I found this. What do you think? And so the more I explained it, the more it just resonated with him. Mm. And he's like, I want to do that. Wow. And I think part of it was because it was online. It was him and the tutor. And it was an outside person. It wasn't somebody in his school who would know. And so he felt very safe in that environment. It was one that he felt like he could do because it was just him and the tutor, and nobody else had to know. But then when I explained to him what you had explained to me in our call, I have never seen him more excited to do anything.
Oh, really?
That to me was amazing. We were in the kitchen, and I said, look, it's online. You chat online, you talk, you do this, you do that. And he's like, I want to do it. And it was just like, I can't believe you just said that, because I did not expect that reaction. I expected, no way, Mom, I'm not doing that, which has been the norm.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, Lori. That's news. That's incredible, but that also makes sense given how he showed up ready. Yeah. He's like, I'm ready, let's do this. And that attitude makes, a world of difference. Like that's.
And he never could articulate. He was struggling so much. He needed help. But when he found out there was a way to get help that fit him, he was all for it. And like you said, he came ready. He showed up each time. I remember one time in the middle of it all, he was just so overwhelmed. And he's like, I've got this, I've got Como stuff, I've got soccer, I've got all this stuff. He goes, but I'm going to do it. And that was his whole attitude all the way through. I'm not giving up. I'm going to do this. And he did. So I'm just like amazed. He's almost a different kid.
How so?
Well, he's initiated so many different things. He's not afraid to ask for help. He goes to his professors now.
Like, how did that happen? Like, what do you think caused that? Going from he didn't want anyone to know he needed help, that he was behind, lots of shame and bad feelings there, to now talking to his professors, going out there. Like, what do you think? I mean, obviously, you know your son better than anyone. What do you think changed for him internally there?
I think he had a mindset shift.
That's huge.
It is very huge. It's something that we have noticed with him. He would have this expectation, even at 10 years old, that if he was given a task and he tried it and failed, he was so down on himself because he expected to be able to do it right the first time. And if he couldn't, he was bad. And nothing we did could shift that. Nothing we talked about, nothing we kept saying you're supposed to, but that didn't help. It was the work that she did with him and in the process. I think it was the whole, because it wasn't an instant thing. She, Gigi took him from, here's the benefits of talking to your professors and setting up this relationship. And then the encouragement that she gave him, and then being right by his side, just a video chat or a text message away from, here's the next thing, or congratulations, good job, just walking him through that whole process until he went through it and saw that he could do it. And so it was having that support from somebody who could explain the steps and tell him how to get there and be right beside him as he did it. Wow. That is the amazing part.
And then him seeing, because I know he had a lot of wins from that, just, lots of different classes, but like feeling that fulfillment or rewarding or however you want to call it, but that essentially that it works, that he can actually do it, not just do it, but benefit from it in ways that he's like, this is the goals I wanted.
Right. And in the notes that I read, he the one thing he didn't like about college was how it felt so impersonal. that the professors were just so standoffish and that he couldn't approach them because they were just so uppity and whatever. And in high school, everybody knew him. He had these great relationships with his teachers, and because he was David, and he's such a charming young man.
he really is, yeah.
That they would help him, and he didn't have that in college. And she asked him, well, why? You established all these relationships in high school. Why aren't you doing it in college? And that set off a light bulb, I think, that it was up to him to do it. He didn't realize he did it in high school. It just came so easy. He was a star athlete. Everybody knew him. He didn't have to. But in college, he was not the star, but on the team. And he knew in his small group of people, he was well known, but not the whole school. So that was a different place for him.
Such a double-edged knife, just in terms of when it comes so easy. It's like on the one hand, that's so great. And then on the other hand, like what you've just explained, like then it's not, you don't necessarily build out the muscle you need to move to the next level.
Right. And it was interesting because I was looking through your roster one time and I thought, oh, this guy would be really good because he gets this stuff. And that's not who he ended up with.
No.
And I'm so grateful for that because I'm sure he would have been very good for David, but what he has achieved through this, it was more of an internal mind shift for him than anything, because he's smart. He just did not apply himself because he didn't think he could do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lori, I love that so much too, because that's so key too for anybody listening, like who are so obsessed with grades or, whatever. It's like, those are just external byproducts of all of the thinking happening internally. And like what you just said, him realizing it's not about the class or the subject or the test. It was really about how he was thinking about all of those things and how he thought about himself. That like nothing external changed. That was all him, which is,
it was all him.
Incredible.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm so proud of. It was all him. He did the work he was asked to do. He was given a plan. He worked it. It was just amazing.
Wow. And now he's on summer break.
Yes.
But how do you feel in terms of his abilities? I mean, scholarships for next year, starting strong next year, keeping strong, keeping the system in place. How is all that looking?
That's looking good. And like I told him last night, I said, the long-term jury is still out. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, whether you keep this stuff going. He said, oh yeah, I plan to. I said, well, that's going to be the big indicator for me.
Totally.
So we got you through the year. Your grades are up. You have a system. We saved a little bit. I said, but now the rest of it is up to you to whether you actually continue and make it through. Because he said from the very beginning, I don't want to quit college. I want to graduate. I want to make it.
Yeah.
But the way he was going at the very beginning, it was just all talk. He wasn't doing the work he needed to do. Now he can do the work he needs to do. And he was even teaching some of the stuff to his friends. Look what I can do now.
Wow. Just like paying it forward, eh?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, okay, now can you teach me how to do this stuff? The reading comprehension stuff that he did, the calendaring and the study guides. I'm like, I want to know that. So once he gets more comfortable with things, I think he'll show me.
Well, I hope he does. And honestly, Lori, that's what's so exciting about it. Like the fact, like you said, like we triaged this year, he got through it, he did it, he got back on track. But
sorry, no, he's coming.
Okay. Tell him I said hi. But that was under intensive pressure and like really, doing that. So imagine, and I think I heard him say this once, or Gigi maybe told me, but that he was like, man, if I had just done this, like I can get straight A's, no problem. Like that was if he just starts from the beginning with all that stuff on track, like there's no telling what he can do truly.
Right. Oh, exactly. Because he's such, I would say, driven, he has an internal drive that to do his best in anything when he has his mindset to do it.
Yeah.
But
well,
I'm looking forward to the next semester and see what he's going to do.
Me too, and Gigi too. And when we were debriefing, we talked about that. We're like, look at what this kid has done. Look at how far he's going to go. So overall, like if you were to pick, I don't know, say your top 3 or 4 things that, you know, what you've learned just from your story, from watching David, from, you know, your own reflections about this whole pretty incredible story of where you guys started and then where he is now and where he can go. You know, we have some other moms, maybe some dads, but mostly moms listening, you know, who might also be watching their kids struggle. It's frustrating. Do you have any advice or key takeaways or things you wish you would have known, or just anything at all that could help them get their kid on a better track?
I was trying to think of those last night. I would say that the first thing I realized was that this whole struggle with grades and stuff is so much more than just the content. It's the skill set. It's the strategies or lack thereof, because he didn't have a whole lot of strategies. And the mindset that doesn't get taught in schools, at least not in the schools that we've been part of. And so especially the whole mindset thing, I think it's becoming more aware, but it's not like something actually taught. And Gigi did some really good work with David on that. And so my advice is this is a safe place for them to do that work and get those strategies, because that's key. And again, it's not being taught in the schools. It's been assumed that they learned it in the lower elementary and expect them to work in high school. And some places they are. And how my older kids learned it, I'm not sure. I think it was more of a forced figuring things out on the fly. And this is a training in on the job training, so to speak, with proven strategies at work. And you can see it work. And so, I don't know, I guess I'm not making sense, but
I think that makes perfect. I mean, what I'm hearing then is it's just about they're not shown how to do it. Some kids, they might figure it out on their own, like you're older, but not everyone does. And the vast majority of kids I've seen, at least, they don't. And that the content is just one tiny small part of it. Knowing what to do with it is what I'm hearing, at least. Like that's the key. And there are strategies, and why they're not taught in school is beyond me. That's a whole other rant and a mission.
Yes. You know? Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be the first thing. And I tell you, honestly, I feel like I have my son back. And that was huge for me, because we went through this period of high school where I became the drill sergeant, the nag, the antagonist, spy, all those things, because I was asking him about certain things. And he, from his inside, was taking it as, Mom doesn't trust me. And so every time I'd ask him about grades or projects or anything, he got defensive. And it was my older son, once David started this process, told me, he goes, Mom, he hears it as you nagging. Every time you say something, you're nagging. And I never thought about that. I thought I was being encouraging. And so I heard him, and I thought, okay, I'm going to let this process work out, and we'll see what happens, and I'm not going to say a word. And the more he was held accountable by a third-party safe person, our relationship got better. I could ask him things, and he didn't feel like I was nagging him or spying on him or any of those things. And I honestly believe our relationship has gotten better because I had somebody else do that accountability part, and I got to be Mom. And it's been a beautiful thing. That itself was worth it. Seeing all the wins that he gained, I kept telling I told a certain friend, I said, that's worth the first down payment. That's worth the second payment. That's worth the third payment. I'm getting my money's worth right now, and so if we have saved that scholarship, this was a drop in the bucket.
Wow, Lori.
No comparison.
I'm so happy for you both. Like that is what you've just said is literally why I get out of bed every morning, at least, like with the hopes that can we even come close to doing that, and we do, and it's unbelievable. That's just so fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that and for being so candid. I can't tell you how much that'll mean, and I think that'll be so helpful for other moms to hear. It doesn't have to be this awful thing where you're nagging, where you feel like, because the mom hat should be the most respected in all of the ways, but then you're totally right when it comes to school, like it's a whole other thing. But wow, so you guys sound pretty set for an awesome summer.
I
think so.
I just emailed Gigi earlier this morning and said, I got to tell you about 2 wins already this summer. And one was, I guess his GPA, I forgot. The other one was he texted me from work and said, can you bring me a book?
A book?
A book. He wanted to read. I mean, his job, he was manning the parking lot in town. It's kind of a boring thing. But he has never he's never wanted to read a book on his own, just to read a book.
That is a huge win. Oh my gosh.
It was huge. He asked for a book, and I did everything I could to get it to him.
Wow. And this is, I'm sorry, school just ended. I think like he'd be not even wanting to. Yeah. Wow.
It was Tim Tebow's book. He got it for Christmas from his brother. He's like, yeah, he wanted to read something for himself. That has never happened.
Wow.
Never.
That is a win in all capitals if I've ever heard one. Wow. Wow. Lori, wow. Thank you so much for this share. This is so epic and motivating. Like I'm buzzing right now. This is so fantastic.
I have told my sister who just retired from teaching, I tell people, this thing you would think would be like, anything on the internet kind of,
but Facebook ad.
A Facebook ad at that. I'm like, don't look at that part. I highly recommend it to anybody, especially the moms struggling with their kids who come, you have so many, like you said, all the hats that we have. Mom should be the top one. And when you can't do that because of all these other things you're trying to do, the drill sergeant, the accountability, the spy, if you can, if somebody else you trust can do that and you get that relationship back, plus, they're learning to do the things that I could not teach him to do because I didn't have that either. I'm learning from him now. So
that's incredible.
Yeah,
that's incredible. And
I've seen some of the questions that people post on that ad. Well, how much does it cost? I'm like, well, let's see. Do you want cost or you want benefit? Because here's you can. It's an investment. Not only an investment in getting him through the semester. This has been an investment that will last him a lifetime. He can carry this through with him to whatever he chooses to do, wherever he lands.
Yeah.
So the cost is one thing, the investment is something else. And I choose the investment.
Totally.
Yeah.
And with honestly just phenomenal outcomes, like different trajectory for you guys. Yeah. And what I'll say for anybody listening who is inspired by this, which how could you not be? But this whole thing started when Lori booked a call.
Yeah.
Saw the ad, booked the call, and I'm going to put up a link for anybody listening to do the same. It's a free call. We chat, we do strategy, we, have a really, really great conversation. And this was about, I think 4 months ago that you and I had that call.
It was back in February.
Yeah, back in February. And now, I mean, you just said you have a different relationship with your kid. You feel like you have your kid back. So this is just incredible. Lori, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. Do you have any final parting words for our moms or for anything in general? Not to put you on the spot.
Well, I know. I'm trying to think it through. If there's any question of whether this is a good program, let me tell you that it is. It's great. The program, I don't know how you designed it, Kelsey, but it just the process itself, it works. Especially when you have tutors like Warren and Gigi, who they just completely poured themselves into David. And I give a lot of credit to them. They went the extra mile. I asked questions. I was included the whole way. And it wasn't the them and David show and me totally left out in the dark. I mean, as a parent, that's important to know that your child is in good hands and that they have these ideas, but they're not going to do it without your permission, which was huge when Gigi had a question saw something in David and we're like, yeah, well, maybe, and we were able to work in those some parameters, but I just had to go with an understanding that I needed something for David and I needed his buy-in and he bought into it. And that because he bought into it with the understanding of the program, that this was something that he could do. It wasn't easy by any means, but it was something that he bought, like I said, he bought into, and he worked it and he worked hard, and they had expectations and he met them and he was held accountable. And he went from, I hate math, I can't do it, to I still hate math, but I can do it. But I can do it. So if you're, that's the bottom line. You'll go from I can't to I can.
Yeah. I love that. That's so fun. Yeah, he did. He showed up to work. He hit it out of the park. That is incredible. I love that. I still hate it, but I could do it now. That's
exactly
different level.
It's a totally different level. He'll never like math, but it won't be this evil thing that
doesn't have to be the bane of his existence.
No.
Very good.
And so, and he would, I don't know if this is how accurate, but I think it's pretty accurate. He would kind of define himself on what he can and what he can't do. And so he can do soccer. He can do soccer all day long, and he's really good. The math and some of the classwork, he wouldn't do it because he didn't think he could. There's nothing stopping him now.
I can't wait to see how this turns out for him next year and moving forward. That is just fantastic. All right, Lori, I'm cognizant of time. I think I've taken up a little bit more than I promised, but thank you so much for coming on and for sharing. Again, this is just, the gems that you've shared are tremendous. So thank you so much. And yeah, you guys, anybody watching, again, this started with Lori with a call that she booked. I'm going to put the link, book a call, let's talk. There is no pressure. It's literally about what can we do for your kids and how far can we take them. And David, I think, exemplifies there is no limit to their potential. Right. They know what to do, and once they know what they're capable of. So this is awesome. Lori, thank you so much.
Thank you for all that you did, and Gigi and Warren, and we're just so grateful.
Thank you. Yeah, no, we love you guys. It's been such a great ride, and we can't wait to keep abreast of how it all goes for next year. So yeah, thank you so much, Lori.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.